we were friends, he didn't have many friends. And so when he saw I was dead serious, I had something to drink and a toast to, he looked at me, where'd they get this nut? You know? Clark Tate was a rock and roller, and a great guy with hard roll, and they run this ringer in on him. So he stopped everything at the head table, and everybody started off, a little past time to start. And he stood up and motioned to Orly at the back of the room. He came up, winding through the crowd, up there, whispering, and everybody started listening to the whispering. And when he turned around and headed back to the kitchen, and I heard an RAF officer right down below our table there say, turned to another face, said, "Don't say, old chap, it's a bomb threat." And he went through the swinging doors, and everybody watched the swinging doors. Here came this orderly with a glass of orange juice, holding up where everybody could see it, headed for the head table, and stuck it in my hand. So I told the President Francis Orange, hear a ripple in the crowd. And I got home that night. I said, "Honey, you better do some sightseeing. We're not going to be grilling." So about 3 days later, we had a similar, very formal reception of the British there for the Gap. And the British could put on a formal like nobody else. I mean, nobody could do it like the British could do it. Silver, lace, and candlelight. And the formality that they go through is unreal. So I turned my wine glass over, had some water already, and they hadn't come around to ask for 7-Up, they hadn't come around to that yet. And the toast to the Queen. And so I stood up, and the RAF officers of the table the time before, boy, they were all watching me to see what was going to happen here. So I took a glass of water and toast to the Queen. You'd almost hear insult, because it has been interpreted in the past there along the river the day it used to be, but toast to the Queen in water was not the nicest thing to do. So we went home, and the next thing we had to have a reception in that house for the whole international community. The people we were working with, the air base was the thing that kept that city alive during the blockade. And the commander didn't care whether they liked him or not. It was number one on the list of protocol that be visited. To have something. So we had to have the reception for the international community. We had 3 big crystal punch bowls filled with LDS punch. One of them had carbon monoxide fumes coming off the dry ice, coming out there, and red and green flashing lights on it. It looked terrible. We had the waiters there just to talk to the people from the officers club across town. Because the waiters were professional German waiters, and they knew what every mayor of the different districts drank. And they, instead of asking them, they just handed it to them. But here they came in, it was different. And I could see them out of the corner of my eye going up to their favorite waiter, and he'd shake his hand and point to the punch bowl. And they'd go over there and taste that, and go, "Oh, terrible." And they left pretty early. And so, gosh, we felt really bad about that. And then they started to ask questions. And to make a very long story short, we were in Berlin for 4 years. The longest the commander had been in Berlin since 1945 or 1970. It was 2 years and 11 months. And we were there for 4 years without ever getting back to the States. And they asked us to stay longer. But the word got around, they asked us why. You know, and we told them that. So we just have a different way of living. We respect your way. We're trying to learn from you and respect how you want to live your life. But we just got a different way of living. And we didn't talk about that at the receptions. And it got so very quickly that they'd have a waiter who would come around with just soft drinks. We'd have all kinds of stuff. I drank enough orange juice in that time that my hair started to sprout. It was really fantastic. The people were wonderful. I mean, the people of every walk of life were absolutely wonderful. So let me just tell you one quick thing in closing. I've got a short film clip, about 4 minutes or so. But when we got there, every German that was during the blockade of the city that caught a parachute, I think every one of them almost tried to get us to come to their house to have dinner so they could tell us what it was like, their personal experience with catching these things. And we couldn't, it was impossible. Really, we had an official function every night except on evening night. And so we turned them down. And I put out the word why we had to turn them down. And then this one invitation kept coming. It kept coming one time after another. And finally, in 1972, we went there at 70. We said, this is stupid, we're slow, but not impossible. Let's accept this one invitation. Because they had never given up. So one Wednesday night, we canceled an official affair, and we went to this house across town from Ball, over by the airfield. It was an old apartment house. Knocked on the door, down below, rang the bell, and down came a young couple and their 2 young sons, our 2 youngest sons when we left. And they took us inside, took us upstairs to their apartment. And the young woman went in the front room and reached in the china cabinet, and opened the door in the china cabinet, pulled out an old letter and handed it to me. She said, read this. It was dated November 1948. It said, Dear Mercedes, I can't find the white chickens in your backyard, but I hope this is okay. She said, you silly pile, I'm Mercedes. If you step over here 5 steps, I'll show you where the chickens were. I know where the chickens were. Well, we slept in Mercedes' bedroom many times, my wife and I and our kids, since that time. The last time was January. This January, we slept out and I slept in the same bedroom Mercedes wrote the letter from. We have an airlift from Berlin to Utah County now. Berlin high school kids, since 1979, coming to Berlin, and our high school kids going to Berlin for 2 sticks a pound. But I want to tell you, whatever your value system is, we respect that. Other people respect your having a value system. And I want to let the young people know that whatever faith you belong to, whatever idea you have of who you are, just hang on to that through life. That you can't be somebody else as well as you can be yourself. You can't be 2 or 3 other guys the way they want you to be. Decide what you want to be, and then respect the other guy. Don't put anybody else down for what they believe. But you can be twice as good at who you are, so the talent you got, than trying to be like somebody else. And I want to make sure that you believe that, because I believe it all my heart. The young peoples are hope for the moment. So you be who you want to be, whatever that is. Decide. It's important that you inculcate that into your value system for your happiness in the future. Then you can be who you want to be, not what somebody else wants you to be. Okay? I'm going to show you just a short film clip. You need to go and take more time. I spent too much time on the introduction, but let me, I'll show you that and you can go if you want to see it. In 1989, September 30th, it was the 40th anniversary of the end of the airlift. And Good Morning America sent a TV team over there to fly with us over Tampa, making the final drop to the kids and the kids and the kids who used to catch it. And that's the documentation from Good Morning America. So we'll get that off and we'll go through. Any questions before we listen to questions? Real quick questions. We'll get the play run and we'll work.
After this past weekend, the 40th anniversary of the end of the Berlin airlift, which began in June of 1948 and ended in September of 49. 4 months after the lifting of the blockade, and Steve Fox was in Berlin for some of the commemorative ceremonies, and he joins us now from London. And good morning, Steve.
Good morning, John. The Berlin airlift was prompted by a Soviet attempt to force the Western Allies out of Berlin by starving the people by denying them food and other supplies. It was historic for 2 reasons. For its display of U.S. and Western determination to support Berlin, and also because it marked the first time in history that air power was used to avoid a war. The Berlin airlift was the first big showdown of the Cold War. The Russians had blockaded all land and sea routes into the isolated city, and President Harry Truman and the leaders of England and France vowed to mount an unprecedented, round-the-clock effort to keep the 2 million people of Berlin supplied with food and fuel. In the beginning, only about 100 American cargo planes were available. Many flights were hampered by bad weather, and the prospects for success were bleak. General T.R. Milton was the operations chief of staff.
I don't think very many people thought it would really succeed the way it did.
What did you think was going to happen?
I think a lot of us thought the war was going to start, World War III.
The airlift delivered 2.3 million tons of goods to the western sectors of the divided city. It also delivered a Christmas Eve USO tour starring Bob Hope and Irving Berlin.
You got the name wrong. It's Irving Jones.
Irving Jones?
Yes, I changed it. Anything over here named Berlin, they cut up into sectors.
The Berlin airlift produced many heroes, plus a number of martyrs. 79 U.S., British, and German personnel lost their lives during the effort. It also produced one legend, Colonel Gail Halvorsen, the U.S. Air Force pilot who became known as the Candy Bomber. The story began here at Tempelhof Air Base, where the children of Berlin would gather every day by a fence to watch the planes land.
So I reached in my pocket, 2 sticks of gum is all I had. Went back to the fence, broke it in half to 4 pieces, passed it through the barbed wire, and it looked like he'd given them $1,000. They couldn't have been happy. And the others didn't get any, wanted the wrapper. And so they tore the wrapper off. The inside and the outside, passed it to the other kids, and their eyes got big when they smelled the wrapper, because they remember back when they used to have gum. And that's how it got started.
Those original movies I was
Halvorsen
up
flew
there.
back to Berlin with enough candy and gum.
He'll come back up.
Approached to Tempelhof, dropped homemade parachutes from his plane. From the beginning, he recorded the events with his own camera. Soon, the international press had picked up the story. Companies back in America donated boxes of sweets. Communities raised money to buy candy and handkerchiefs for use as tiny parachutes.
Somebody was starving people, mostly women and children, trying to take control of their lives through starvation, which is really a barbaric act.
Mercedes Wild was 7 years old when the blockade began and remembers being hungry and cold most of the time. She and Colonel Halvorsen became lifelong friends. He stays in her house nowadays when he visits Berlin as a result of a letter that she wrote him back then. Her grandmother had been raising chickens for food in the backyard. Little Mercedes asked Halvorsen to drop some candy when he saw the chickens from the air.
I wrote in the letter that would it be easy to drop a parachute down because of the white chicken.
Because the chickens weren't laying any eggs because they were not going to look at. So you figured you deserved some candy if you weren't going to get eggs? Mercedes and her children were among the crowd of Berliners who gathered at Tempelhof last Saturday when Colonel Halvorsen, now retired, went aloft over Berlin one more time for a recreation of the now famous candy drop.
But this special airdrop is just a kind of candy bar on top of the dried fruit, vegetables, flour, and coal that made it sweet for the kids in Berlin. And that's what makes it great for me. The little things give us the most pleasure in life. That's to help somebody we don't know and expect nothing back from it. But the small things in life determine our ultimate destiny.
What was your general impression, and the people you knew, the general impression of Americans during the time of the airlift?
It was a very great impression. It was a real surprise for us.
Surprise, what?
Yes, because we were used to have bombs from the Americans in Berlin. It's changed. There were not animals, they became friends.
The Berliners were the heroes. Without them, the lift would have never worked. They slept in bombed-out buildings without heat, without lights, and yet they said, we'll never give in. The Russians offered them food rations. Here, sign up. We'll give you all you want. And less than 4% of the Berliners capitulated.
It sounds like, in a way, you were more impressed with the character of the Berlin people, the spirit of the people, than the ongoing effort to get food to them.
The spirit of the people was more important. And without that determination, without what Mayor Reuter spirit that he infused in this population, and the spirit of the Berliner, the airlift would never work. The Berliners said, hey, we don't care if you give us enough to eat, just give us a little. Someday we'll have enough to eat. But if we lose our freedom, we'll never get it back.
Joan, Mercedes Wild told me that when she was a little kid during the war, the sound of American planes overhead was a cause for concern, fear. It meant bombs were coming. But during the airlift, when the planes were flying 24 hours a day, when they didn't hear the planes, that was a cause for concern because it meant the food wasn't coming in that day.
They wanted to hear those planes.
You bet.
Yeah, Steve, thank you very much. And in our next half hour is Gail Halvorsen.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.